What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. Now, you can always be a part of the show by going to insidethegame.ca, and there you can submit your clip or hit us up on Discord. Now, it's been a long time. We've been waiting for his return, and he's back. Scott Savage makes his debut in this week's episode, but before we get started, here we go with the Inside Scoop.
So Xbox xCloud has been live for just over a month now, and honestly, I think it's been a huge success for Microsoft. It's a really cool way to kind of get involved into the games off your console without needing your console. You can play on your phone, tablet, smart TV. You can play on anything with a screen, essentially, that you can log into this feature in this app. And the nice thing is it's been available on Android for quite a while now. The official launch was back in September, but we haven't had any iOS support, and that is a lot to do with the fact that Apple has a ton of policies that make it difficult to launch a new app on the App Store. So Microsoft has kind of vowed that they will have, iOS support at some point for xCloud, because this game streaming feature, I think, it's too big, and they want to be too successful with it to just have it on the Android market. It needs to be on iOS as well. So they are working on kind of a browser-based setup opposed to having an app on your phone. It's kind of like what Epic Games has done, where they've kind of circumvented the Apple App Store a little bit, and they're using a Safari-based browser version. So it's kind of interesting to see what Microsoft is doing here. They're trying to find a loophole so they can get on that platform, and they have said for sure they are looking at making sure they can hopefully get it to iOS for 2021. So if you haven't tried out xCloud and you're on an iOS device, you have to wait a little bit longer. But if you haven't checked it out and you got an Android, you got it, because this one is, too cool to miss.
Some big news coming out of Sony this week, finally giving us the reveal of the PlayStation 5 UI. Not normally something all that exciting, however, some of the features that they're bringing to the PlayStation 5 has us pretty pumped up. Sid Schumann took us through a tour of the new control center. One tap of the PlayStation button allows us to see everything all at once. Who's online, new game info, controller battery life, and a whole lot more. Another new feature are cards. Cards are a new thing to the UI, allowing us to see stories on games from publishers that we follow. Media you've also created, as well as screenshots and clips with the ability to share those to social channels and friends or in online groups. Beside the new cards are also activities. Activities allow you to see goals within a game and even give you the approximate timeline of how long it may take you to complete that activity. Parties have been enhanced as well. Now sharing your screen with friends will allow them to watch as you play along, as well as them continuing on with their game. Kind of a picture-in-picture-esque kind of mode where it allows you to bounce the picture around your screen so it's not interfering with your own gameplay. One of the other new features is the PlayStation Store. Not necessarily a feature, but a nice integration. The PlayStation new store will be integrated into the PlayStation 5 and not that standalone app that it is right now. If you want to see the full reveal of the UI, head to insidethegame.ca, where there, Sid himself will take you through it.
Believe it or not, Starcraft 2 has been around for over 10 years. That's right, 2020 marked the 10th anniversary of Starcraft 2. Well, as good a news as that is, and I know how much of a cult classic this game can be, unfortunately Blizzard has announced that there's going to be no more new DLC or game content coming for Starcraft 2 anymore. They've ceased all operations in that department, and unfortunately there's only going to be bug fixes moving forward, and that's about it. We're not getting any new DLC content. So if you're a Starcraft 2 player, I know that's a big bummer, but if you're a Blizzard fan, if you look towards the future here, they have announced that the reason that they're kind of moving away from, getting more DLC for this older game is because they're currently working on Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2. We don't have any release dates or much information on either one of those titles, but we know Blizzard is definitely shifting their focus to these games next generation. So as terrible as it is, it's sad to see Starcraft kind of lose this support, but at the same time, it's still a huge game. I'm sure tons of people are going to keep playing it, but unfortunately, there isn't going to be anything new coming for this one.
Hello to everyone. I was gone for a little while. I was in a little bit of an accident. We'll get to that at the end of the show, but I'm back now, and it's time to talk about Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition. So I was out for a number of episodes. It's been a few weeks since I had a game to review, but my first assignment back is Age of Empires 3, and I gotta say, holy, how did I miss this when I was younger? This is such a titan of a game, a whole trend center in itself, and I gotta say, it lives up to the name. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition functions as a sort of remaster. I don't know if that really fits that definition for sure, but it absolutely has a reskin that updates the graphics, and they've also gone ahead and fixed a lot of the historical inaccuracies that were found in the original printing of the game. They did so with the help of many indigenous tribes and tribe members that they pulled into the team, used for some of the voice acting, and consulted as to their historical facts. It's not just a history book. Age of Empires 3 is quite a game. It still has that arcadey feel to it. There's multiple ways to win the conflict. The conflict is very slow and drawn out, where you are spent a lot of time building up your city before you conflict with the enemy. And like I said, there's different ways to win. You could get a trade victory by trading with all the natives on the map and kind of taking the territory in a non-lethal means. There's a lot of options in this game. It is a true RTS, and it holds true to all of the RTS staples. In fact, you could say that Age of Empires was the one that created the formula for all the modern RTSs. Think about Warcraft, the unit-on-unit conflict. Some units are better than the others. You build buildings that can give you upgrades for your civilization or just specific units in general. It has all of those normal staples in it, but that's not to say it's like all the other games. There's this age thing where you move through different ages as you technologically level yourself up, and your citizens get more advanced for that, and you get an edge over the enemy. There's a very large city building aspect to this game, and that's something that really appeals to me. As somebody who enjoys Total War and games of that matter, it's the slow, methodical game is how it got me. Now, the slow and methodical campaign is just one aspect of this game. There's actually quite a lot of variance into what you can do. There is historical battles that let you relive certain things from the campaign in just a shortened battle sense. There's skirmish mode. There's an online, fully available skirmish mode as well. And the campaign is not very short. It goes and goes, and there's a lot of game to sink your teeth into. This was such a trend center in the day, and it really holds true that they put that amount of effort into repackaging it. It's not just simply a repackage. It has little tweaks here and there to make it just play better, run better, look better, and just overall be better than the original copy. Now, all this praise aside, the game isn't exactly perfect. It warns you early on that this is a beta mode that I have access to. This is a mode created for the purpose of review, and therefore it will be a little bit different than the main print of the definitive edition. However, there are some glitches that are found, and these glitches can just be characters getting stuck in the mountainside and unable to move, characters just disappearing altogether. There are slight things that don't break the game, but things do get a little bit weird, and it's not exactly 100% perfect. My only issue graphically that I have to point out is that the interface that you interact with seems a little bit dated. Just where the resources are, how to command your units, the unit information. You know, it definitely clutters the screen and it suffers from that early RTS kind of issue. But it exactly is an early RTS. That makes a lot of sense. You have to consider where this game came from to really accurately scale the interface and the graphical capability. It's aging. It's not exactly something fresh. Well, I was gone for approximately 2 months, just a little under 2 months. And when I came back, my computer had gone through several updates. I've actually lost my audio capability. So for the audio department of this game, I unfortunately can't really debate on that one. I assume it has the original soundtrack maybe redone, cleaned up for better audio drivers, but I can't confirm this, unfortunately. I wish I had played this game on its original airing when it originally came out, and that way I would have a better meter stick, so to speak, of how to measure this game. But at the end of the day, again, it really came through. This game hooked me in a way that other kind of Warcraft, Starcraft, other RTSs just kind of fail. The city building really stands out to me. The character-on-character combat is deep. And the ages that you go through are varied enough to spice up the game when it needs it. And all the different modes, this game is a titan. And therefore, I have to give this one an 8 out of 10. This is a solid game, and if you're into RTSs, it is absolutely worth your while to spend just to check it out. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is a solid, competent version of the genre-setting series. This new edition has better historical content, better graphics, and slight tweaks to make the game even more enjoyable nowadays. With tons of modes and lots of factions to keep you playing, this behemoth of a game is absolutely worth an 8 out of 10. I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I was gone for a little while, just a little bit under 2 months, and I wanted to just shed a little bit of light on that. I was involved in a solo crash on an e-bike, and I suffered some injuries that took a little while to come back from. And in fact, I'm still dealing with a little bit of the tremors left over. But that being said, I'm very lucky to be alive. I'm very thankful this year, and I'm counting my blessings from here on out. It was not a fun experience recovering from that crash. And if anybody is ever on an e-bike, if you intend on going over 20 kilometers an hour, just put a helmet on. Nobody expects the accident. It always gets you when you least are prepared. And those things, they go fast.
I'm back to be a barbarian once again. I came back to the world of Conan Exiles, the latest DLC, Isle of Sipta. The latest expansion puts us on a brand new map, and it was something I needed to explore. Playing Conan before and jumping into this new stranded, deserted island is definitely a different experience. Beforehand, I was over in this desert area, and now things are a little bit more lush. You're able to pick your side of the map. Again, whether or not you want to start off on a more difficult section, or you want to kind of maybe ease your way into the game, that's where I started. I am typically not looking to get my butt handed to me right away, so I wanted to do something a little bit more easier and kind of get the grasp of being back. Now, this is a brand new reset for the game as well. It allows players who are familiar with the game, but it also introduces stuff for those who've never played, allowing you to not feel so overwhelmed when coming back to or just joining the world of Conan. It's very cool and allows you to experience a different survival game, I would say. And when I started, I'm on this deserted beach and I found a massive shipwreck, and from there, that's where I started to build my base. If you want, you're able to go out there and do the PvP side, but it's a little frustrating when you leave the server to come back to have your whole base, everything you've gathered, just completely destroyed. That's the joys of playing on PvP sometimes, so I went for the aspect of going PvE in co-op. I went for the single player experience, allowed to bring in a friend or two and head out and explore, and there is lots to explore. Setting out on the new island allows you to gather resources like any other survival game, and it really depends on how you want to play the game. You can just solely build a base, and to be honest, I spent a few hours just working on the base alone and kind of customizing it and gathering resources so I can build a craftsman table or a furnace and start building up other resources. And from there you put in your shrine, kind of your temple, and you're just expanding all the time. To be honest, I could just sit there all day and work on my base, building out new sections, areas, putting in new furniture, there's all kinds of things to do. And I think that's really cool when it comes to the world of Conan. It's not light on content by any means, but if you're looking for more content, well, there's all kinds of DLC that you can pay for. And I think that's a little disappointing, to be honest, because some of the DLC that keeps coming out has some really cool features, but for you to get those, you're going to have to buy those. They aren't free, right? But there's a ton of content already in the game, but if you're looking to expand it even further, there's definitely other DLC packs out there that let you get other armor and upgrades and mounts and things of that nature. And it's super cool when you're able to get out there with some friends and explore to see what else is in the island of Isle of Sipta. There's a massive tornado that's up in the sky, maelstrom, and sometimes there's these tentacles that come out of it. There's just a whole set of exploration little hints that you want to see. Why is that up there, and what's going on with this sorcery that's in the world? And of course, there are huge dungeons that you're able to go out and explore, and cool creatures. Spiders are very common. Wildlife, you're going to run into these dogs are everywhere, the deer are there, and they're relatively simple to kill, but there's definitely some issues when it comes to the battling system itself and the building system as well. When you're out there fighting in our dungeons and you're getting clipped by the monster, actually the monster's head went right through my character. So some detection issues are definitely there. There's no hit detection whatsoever. At some moments they're running completely into the wall and getting stuck. There is definitely some polish that needs to be done with Conan. When it comes to the building system, it's solid, but there's still issues as well. I like my stuff to be straight and narrow, and when I'm building on the ship, I've got a set of stairs that go off the ship, but they don't match, they don't line up with my ship itself. It actually goes above the ship. It's kind of just annoying. I can't make it perfect, I guess, and that's my biggest struggle, because I like to see that perfection there, and it's just not really there. Certain aspects will clip on, certain things will not. So 1 minute I'm building a foundation, building off that foundation, and then I can't add more foundation parts to it. Okay, now what? Well, then I start going into the ceiling tile instead, and that ceiling tile takes over and allows me to expand my floor space. But then it just seems weird that if you want a foundation, you build the foundation, and that's how you build your foundation of the base, not put a ceiling tile in its place. Conan Exiles' latest expansion, Isle of Sipta, has been a great new island added in. A nice map that lets you explore a different take from what you're experiencing before. A whole lot of desert beforehand. Now, with a new fresh take with huge, massive trees, cool monsters, hidden dungeons, lots of secrets to explore. And of course, if you like building and crafting things, it's all there for you as well. It's nice and inviting for new players, but there's also something there for old players as well. This is going to wrap up, for me, with a 7 for Conan Exiles, Isle of Sipta. The latest expansion for Conan Exiles, Isle of Sipta, brings a new and exciting map to explore. Hidden secrets and more to explore is great, but hit detection, clipping, and small building imperfections prevent the game from being perfect. All right, guys, the holidays are just around the corner, and that means one thing and one thing only. Pre-orders are coming up for the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Now, we've definitely seen some hiccups, but we want to go with Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5 launch titles. What are we getting on November 10th and November 12th? Corey, what's up for the Xbox Series X?
All right, well, I think we're all pretty excited about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've already got my code. I'm just waiting to be able to play the game at this point.
Yeah, sure.
But no, yeah, definitely. I think this is kind of like the highlight of this list, right? It's a big game, huge anticipation for it, and I think it's going to be a great title, especially on these next-gen consoles. Yeah. So that's how they start off the list, but we get a few more coming. We got Destiny 2 Beyond Light, which I believe is a DLC pack. Yeah, Nate, you know more about this than I would, but yeah, that's what we're getting there with that guy. Dirt 5
on Game Pass, by the way.
Yeah, on Game Pass. Yeah, Gears Tactics. We also have Tetris Effect Connected, Watch Dogs Legion, which is a sneaky one down this list, which probably should be higher on this list, but I don't think this is quite a ranked list here. But
yeah, I hear you.
Again, I think this is a game we're all looking forward to jumping into when we get the chance. After Watch Dogs, we've got Yakuza Like a Dragon, and that's it for at least for the launch day games that we're going to be able to play on this list. We've got Fortnite and a few other games, but for some of the newer ones that we're looking for, that's what we're getting.
It seems like a bit of an odd list, though, when you're looking for like what comes for exclusives. When we go over to PlayStation, there's a lot of titles over there, man. And when you're looking on day one, you want something to play, right? And then when you don't really have anything on the Xbox coming on day one, why get the Xbox? I'm gonna be honest.
Well, man, like there's really, what's the only game that I could think of is Yakuza that's actually like an Xbox Series X exclusive on launch day. Gears Tactics hasn't been put on console yet, so that'll be, it's been on PC because we reviewed it earlier this year. But a lot of these games, like, it's kind of a misstep, man. It's honestly because Halo wasn't there. I think they were really kind of banking on that being, Halo. Like, that's Xbox's thing, and it's unfortunate, but we'll kind of get into that later. But, let's look into PS5's list because theirs is looking much juicier, but in all honesty, still not like super enticing. Like,
oh man, I'm going to
let Drew gush.
Disagree. I will disagree with you. Hands down for launch games, PlayStation is easily the way to go. Xbox Series X, as we just talked about, really has nothing there at launch. But let's look at PlayStation 5. Demon's Souls, exclusive, right? Huge remake. Blue Point knows exactly what they're doing when they're remaking these games, and they crush them. And without a doubt, Demon's Souls is going to be another one that they're just going to nail right out the park. And if you're into that Souls genre, then, going back to where it all started, or if you're into that now but never played the OG, then here's your opportunity, right? With super high fidelity, the graphics, gameplay, everything's been redone from the ground up, as Blue Point often does. So you can look for that one. Kicking things over as well is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like, come on, man. Exactly. Adam knows what he's talking about. Nate doesn't know nothing.
It's like that's the game you get the console for, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reason you be getting one.
Not $100 game, isn't it? Not like a full title.
I believe it is a full title. I don't have the actual price.
I thought I heard it wasn't, man.
It could be a 40 game. So right now, PlayStation's playing between the $40 to $70 range on their titles. They just updated some of their prices, like Demon's Souls will be a $70, $80 game here for us Canadians, right? So they've upped some of the stuff. But continuing on down the line, you get Sackboy, A Big Adventure, Godfall, is looking to be that looter slasher they're calling it over there at Gearbox. This thing looks awesome. So Godfall looks cool, looks like a solid title. Astro's Playroom is another one. Destruction All Stars. And then we get into the other ones that Xbox has with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. NBA 2K21 is going to be there. Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. Fortnite's going to be everywhere again. They're not going anywhere. Destiny 2 Beyond Light. Observer System Redux will be there. And of course, Call of Duty Cold War, the Black Ops series, is back again and coming over to the PlayStation. They're just coming to next gen completely, right? But if we talk about exclusives for the day launch of November 12th, then it's easily no hands down. It's all in Sony's favor once again, which is unfortunate for Xbox, because why do I want to spend the money on the Xbox Series X or S, depending on which model you want to go with, and if there's no solid exclusives there, like Spider-Man? Like, there are, I think honestly, the lineup here for PlayStation, there's a bit of everything for everybody. Destruction All Stars looks like a quirky destruction game, like whatever. Astro's Playroom, if you had Astro Bot VR, what an experience that was. And then to get that over on the actual console now is a little bit different. Godfall is there. Sackboy is back. Some people are going to be thrilled for this. If you're a Sackboy fan from the old, Little Big Planet, the OG from PS3, those games were classics. Now we skipped mostly a generation. You kind of see Sackboy teeter on some of the appearances here or there, but now he's back as a launch title, which is cool to see. But then again, Spider-Man and Demon Souls. Between Spider-Man, Demon Souls, and Godfall, I think they're your top three right off the hop. And if you do get Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition, they're also kicking in a code for you to get the Spider-Man Remastered to go with it. And then on top of that, like, Sony just keeps coming, because they go, you're going to play these games, and then after that, then what are you going to do? Well, we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stick around. So what do? They come up with the PlayStation Plus collection. And those games are games we've seen on PlayStation 4 that are coming all bundled in on November 12th. So you got Batman Arkham Knight, Battlefield 1, Bloodborne, Days Gone, Detroit, Fallout 4, God of War, Infamous Second Son, The Last Guardian, Monster Hunter World, Mortal Kombat X, should have been 11, Ratchet and Clank, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Until Dawn. So not only are you getting all the original, those launch titles, some of the other ones that Xbox has as well with Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty and stuff, but then you're getting the PlayStation Plus collection as well.
Which is great for someone who, hasn't had a PS4, which isn't a lot of people, but
sure,
there are a number of people that haven't played all those games. I mean, I haven't played a number of them.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, unfortunately, I missed the boat on the PS5 pre-orders, but for me, it would have been great. But again, the whole Spider-Man thing, I think it's great, but they're just kind of, it's a little bit money grabby kind of, because the whole lack of porting your save files from any of those games, man, like that in my opinion, if I was a PlayStation guy going forward, I might be a little cheddared that I lost half my progress through God of War, and it's like, oh, I want to play it on my updated PS5, but wait, I have to restart. So I think that's a bit of a slap in the face, man. That they need to come up with a cloud saving service. Otherwise, it just looks like they're trying to rake in money.
But you are getting the collection for free. The collection is there for, well, not for free. Sorry, it's $20 service. So the collection comes in, but you have all these games, right? Where it's, to me, it's another offering for you to stick around on the PlayStation side, PlayStation 5, so that when you are done all the launch titles or the ones you pick up here or there, then for another $20 or so, you're able to get into this massive collection.
Is that a monthly fee, or is that just upfront?
I'd have to double check on that one, Nate. Way to go.
$20. That just sounds like an absurd.
I just saw that. I thought it was yeah. So, but it's still, it's the offering that's there. The Xbox, I don't see bringing to the table. You know what I mean?
Well,
there is Game Pass. Absolutely. Game Pass is carrying over Project X Cloud.
Established. Game Pass is established.
Their collection.
Yeah.
Plus, if you have a PC, then it's like 10 times the collection. for $20 a month. I hope it's not $20 a month. We need to look into this.
I'm looking into it right now. You guys keep talking about the Xbox.
Well, I was gonna say, while we're talking about money, I think we should get into. We haven't had a discussion about the prices of these consoles since the release of the price. We've talked about the games now a little bit. Drew's doing a little bit of research here.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, again, these titles are gonna really drive what people want to buy as far as what console they're going to get first. And PlayStation, I think, and what we just talked about, has a bit of an edge for people that like both consoles, I think. But we're primarily Xbox players. Like, we know Nate and I both have PlayStation 4s, but how often are we firing those things up over our Xboxes, right?
That's
we
right.
lean one way more than the other. But when we look at the prices of these consoles, we've got the PS5 coming in at $629 Canadian for the version with the disc drive. Yeah, and then we do go down to, I believe, is $499 for the discless version for PS5. Which, as far as specs for both consoles, I believe the only difference is the addition of the disc drive.
Exactly. There is no difference except for that drive. So for me, I'm leaving the drive out. I'm going discless.
I know that.
Done, right? Now, getting back to the PlayStation Plus collection, it is added benefit to the existing PlayStation 4 benefits that the PlayStation Plus members receive for a single subscription price. There is no extra cost.
Oh, so it's just your Plus price.
It's just your Plus membership.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's Game Pass Ultimate
It kind of
for
is,
PlayStation.
right?
Yeah, you know, like same idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're getting a kind of a game library encompassed with your kind of online extra bonuses you're already collecting, right, for your money, which is that's pretty good.
It's a
great
lineup there.
It's a smart move, right?
think
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
Nate. Sorry, no, go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead. Because
Okay, no, I was just gonna say, were you sticking with PlayStation? Because I was gonna change the topic a little bit.
no, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, so we got the PlayStation 5 at $629, and then the discless version, which I think we're all more favored on, because who doesn't want to save an extra, $130, $140.
Exactly. Yeah.
And well, moving to the Xbox side of things, we've got the Series X that's going to be $600, and then the Series S for $379, which is a huge difference in price here. But again, this is a significant difference in console.
Exactly.
Right? And we're not in this PS5. We're just removing the disc drive, right? It's I'm not going to say a steep downgrade, but it is a significant downgrade from the Xbox Series X console. But what they're saying is we're going to be receiving significant amount more power than the Xbox One X, even with the Series S. So, I mean, it's going to be an upgrade regardless. And I think $379 is a pretty reasonable price for an upgrade over a console you may not actually own. Like me, I have an OG Xbox One. So, an Xbox Series S would be a significant upgrade in my gaming setup. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to see how Microsoft's come in significantly lower with this. But again, they had to, like you said, Drew, because there is a huge difference in the technology in these two consoles.
Once you really, I've seen quite a few videos on just the innards of all the things. And the biggest difference with the X and the S is honestly the whole 8K upgrading and the 4K at full potential, because it plays at 1440p. I'm pretty sure it's 120 FPS, so
just pretty darn good.
I mean, it's no slower. The load times are still going to be top notch. You got quick resume, which is Xbox's big thing. So I mean, for me, I needed to get the biggest and the baddest, because I also want the disc tray for my 200 games that I can play because of backwards compatibility.
That's the biggest thing Xbox has for it, though, right? If you're getting into it, you're getting that backwards compatibility. We're moving forward. Sony has come right out and said you can get up to about 100 games from PlayStation 4 backwards compatibility with PlayStation 5, but you're not going to get PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, or PlayStation 3. Not happening. It's just not coming.
It's 2020. We should be able to do that.
Well, exactly. But that's when they also came out with PlayStation Now, and that's their Game Pass service, right? And that's how they can kind of tie in some of that stuff. But even some of that's not even there either.
Yeah.
It all really depends on who you are, right? If you're primarily a Sony, a PlayStation guy, you might get the best version you can and maybe, kick tires on the 300 and whatever you said, Corey.
$380, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Where you still got the power, but it might not be your primary system.
Sure.
You know, and then vice versa, right? I'm more of an Xbox guy. I haven't had a PlayStation for a while, but you know, I'm probably gonna end up getting both in the long run, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, it's just
think
the nature of what we do. So to cover both, we're always in both now. But I've always been on the PlayStation side, and then you guys join up, and then wow, you're all Xbox guys, right? Which is cool because then it introduced me to a whole other library of games. So the big push for me was back in the day when Splinter Cell went Xbox exclusive, and then I had to get my Xbox, and that's what changed it. And then from there, I just kind of stuck around. But I've always said, you know what? If there's a good game, I just want to play it. I don't care where it is. I just want to be able to play that game. But in the grand scheme of things, launch lineup for both consoles, preference is obviously in the eye of the beholder. What games are you looking to play? But for me, going out of the gate, swinging right now, PlayStation's come to the table where Xbox, I feel, just hasn't.
Yeah, they missed the mark a bit. The Bethesda thing, I think, is a bit, as awesome as it is, it's a bit of a smoke screen because of the timing of it all, right? Everybody's getting jacked for this Bethesda, merger now with Microsoft and Xbox, but we're not getting any Bethesda games at launch, so like, you know what I mean? Like we're getting games on Game Pass, but you know what I mean? Like there's nothing new coming from those studios that we've been told for launch. So it's kind of like, okay,
it's not launching with Starfield, right?
Yeah, where are they?
So here's the thing. We need to kind of look into the future, let's say, because I think that's where a lot of PlayStation fans are like, I can wait until next year when we kind of know more about what Bethesda's doing. Because I think they spent that money, and especially because Sony's very set on having exclusives. I mean, you can tell. So I think Xbox, they're not going to just be like, here you go, you can have the biggest Bethesda games, no problem. It's not going to happen. I'm pretty set on it not happening. So I think moving forward, it's gonna be a different game. Like Microsoft even said in an interview that they're still looking to scoop up more companies. And I mean, let's look at their 23 studios they have. They got pieces in all the cake, man. They got the racing, they got open world, now they got the RPGs like crazy. They own the Western RPGs market, where Sony's that Japanese RPG market.
Sure.
So it's pretty cool. Like Xbox, man, it's the future that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. And I mean, the present, if you don't have Xbox now, I think getting upgrading to the S or the X and hopping on that Game Pass train, you have an entire library of games to just lose yourself in. And it's kind of a toss-up, man. Like the PS5 hands down has better launch games. There's no argument. Like Demons, like you said, like 4 actual exclusives. So that alone, and they're looking good. But I think launch window, because we don't really know about Halo Infinite. We don't even know about Starfield. Like, who knows, man? They've been talking lots about it in interviews, man. Maybe we'll get a curveball.
That's wishful thinking.
Man.
Wishful thinking. Yeah, we'll be a year or two out from getting anything, I think, out of Bethesda when it comes to anything for Xbox. For a launch window, Halo is in that window. I would hope. For the Xbox Series X. They announced Fable. I believe they've been working on it for a while, but I don't think it's hitting that launch window, which is really disappointing. I think if they would have had Halo and Fable at the launch, that really would have helped solidify Xbox, right? That really would have had them coming out of the gate, swinging hard. And unfortunately, neither title's ready, and that's really disappointing because...
Do you think COVID took a part, or do you think it's just because Xbox is it's just been this slow process of them really establishing who they are, you know what I mean?
Honestly,
Halo, they delayed, so I think Microsoft's really they're patient. They're not, there's no crunch, there's none of this bull crap, man. They're like, you know what, take your time and make what you think your fans are gonna want.
Yeah.
No, I agree, Nate. I think COVID had setbacks for everybody. We've seen the setback. Look, we're all from home right now. Everybody right now is working from home. So you imagine, a couple hundred people in a studio, all of a sudden now transition to home. That's going to delay stuff. It's going to delay the launch of the systems. It's going to delay the launch of the games. So that's how its ripple effects come down the line. And that could be one of the reasons why we've seen Halo pushed out maybe to a later portion of the launch window. Hopefully, but we need it this year. I think that's a big push. They have to have it this year for Xbox.
For Christmas?
No. I don't
Okay,
think.
you meant like this year within the next launch.
Yeah, the launch window, like the next 6 months,
Yeah.
right? Of the launch kind of thing. Is when
I,
you're gonna
that,
see
they,
that.
they made me feel like that's when it was going to be out too. Like they were delaying Halo because it was supposed to be a launch title, so they can't. I think they know they can't delay it too much longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those titles, like you said, like a Fable or a Halo, is a reason people buy the console so they can play the newest version of their favorite game. And PlayStation's got that, and Xbox is tripping a little bit. They're tripping up on this one, and it's kind of upsetting to see. Like I don't know. Again, but Microsoft and Xbox are leaning more towards sharing with everybody, working with everybody. We're Sony is Sony, and they've always been Sony, and they care about what they're doing, and they do it well.
Yep.
But Microsoft and Xbox have always tried to be more of an open community in the sense that they know they sometimes play second fiddle to Sony and PS5. So they do things that maybe they're not doing, right? Like we said, we've got this xCloud service now, which is really awesome. I think we've all kind of jumped in and tested it out.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things where, they're in cahoots with Nintendo now too. I mean, we haven't got a ton of details on what they've been doing, but we know stuff's happening, right? So it's interesting to see them doing that. And I know they probably would want that to be more open source, obviously. I just don't feel like they lean towards the console wars side as much as everybody maybe necessarily thinks there is that.
That's totally a made up freaking thing.
I know,
That's fanboys.
No, I think Xbox is really leaning on the Ultimate Game Pass more than the actual Xbox itself, right?
Which I think is within the Xbox family, PC, Xbox, and your smart device. Not necessarily Sony. They're not that.
The console and the console
I
only.
think they without getting too much into it, I think they'll get some things from Microsoft, like the Minecraft dungeons and whatever else. But man, we'll have to see, boys. It's been a good discussion.
Yeah, it's definitely been a great one. We'd love to hear your feedback. Hit us up at insidethegame.ca or just join our Discord. We're always live in there. Who's winning this war for PlayStation or the Xbox Series X when it comes to the launch titles? All right, Corey, it's time to light that torch and get through these dungeons.
In a world of magic and mystery, will you choose fame? Will you choose fortune? Or the future of the frontier?
Corey, you and I jumped into Torchlight 3 over on the Xbox. You recently actually had an interview with Max talking about the game, and now we went hands-on. What are you thinking about Torchlight 3?
Well, we got to review Torchlight 2 on the Switch a little while ago, and that game, I never played the first game, so I was really surprised. I jumped in this game. I love this game. So when I got the opportunity to talk to Max Schaefer, the CEO of Ekra Games, is actually the developer of Torchlight 3. He kind of got, let me know some of the changes that we got this year compared to last year's game. And the biggest one is the 2 new character classes when you first jump into the game. And that is the Forged class and the Railmaster class. And we do have the Sharpshooter and the Dusk Mage, which is actually really cool. There was a bunch of customization right off the bat when I jumped into this, especially when I picked my character, which was Forged. I wanted to go with the new one, and Max actually kind of leaned me in that direction a little bit because he said that was the one he was going for. I'm like, well, if the CEO's going to pick Forged, I got to check out this class, right? Yeah, and let me tell you, I'm definitely not disappointed jumping into this game because we get these, these RPG dungeon crawling elements all the way through. I just like the ability that I have with the Forged class. Like, I know you went with the Sharpshooter, and I'll let you get into that in a little bit here, but I get a little bit of ranged and close combat if I want, depending on how I build my character in this game. And it was a lot of fun to be able to customize this because now that your skill tree is a little more prevalent in the menu system, because last year it was bogged down a little bit and it was hard to find, now it's kind of right in your face and you can kind of customize it on the go when you're kind of ripping through some of these dungeon areas. But I'm not going to get into too much yet. I had a lot of fun, Drew. What did you kind of think when you first jumped into this one?
Well, that was initially everything opens up obviously with a cutscene, and then you start building out your character, right? And I was kind of hoping for a little bit more customization when it came to stylizing my character. Picking the face seemed pretty limited, a couple of little hairstyles here or there. It wasn't, I guess, as much detailed when it comes to some of the other games where we go in and customize so much, right? Yeah. A lot of the RPGs, when you get into an RPG similar to this, you could be there for half an hour just customizing your character. Where I was kind of done in like a good 5 minutes. So, I was all set. Got my class, I got my sharpshooter, I got my relic, and then I got my pet to go along with me. So, to get in, I thought it was relatively easy. I was hooked, dude. The minute I started, I was in though. Like, okay, my character's done, I was kind of hoping for more, but to go out and then start just laying down all these goblins and things like that and shooting from a distance that's my style, right? I'm either a stealth character or I kind of tend to sometimes sit back a little bit and then shoot and kind of take over there. And then I went with the frost setup for my character too. So I'm freezing characters, right? And then I'm shooting them. So they're not even moving, more or less, and I'm able to kind of pick them off and stuff. That was cool. I thought the shooting mechanic it has the assist, right? You can feel that assist lock on for this type of character. For me anyways, I thought it was really family friendly in a sense and just easy to get into. And then from there, I was leveling up my character because it was just nonstop. Go, go, go. It was so cool to get into.
The button layout is done nicely. We're using the A, B, X, Y buttons for all our attacks, and then it stacks with more attacks if you hold left trigger, and then you can expand your attack list even farther. And it was implemented in a way where it felt really natural when you're playing with the controller, right? And like you said, there is definitely an assist, and even as the forge character gets like a chest cannon, and I can basically just fire that thing like a Gatling gun, and sometimes if I'm in a crew, it's just like, I'm right around, it's just taking this guy out, and he's just kind of spinning around. So, I mean, there is definitely parts of this game where you feel like maybe it's a little too easy, but there's a few game modes here too. We both played on normal, where it kind of allows you to get into the story a little bit more, but also kind of enjoy the amount of action they kind of throw at you. But we do have a few other difficulty levels above that where, we're getting harder characters and more of them. So you can definitely ramp this up if you are looking for, a tougher run through some of these levels. But I do like the ability to customize, like you said, our runes. And that was kind of the way, we get to pick a class character. There's only 4, so, there isn't a ton here. But being able to pick this kind of rune, and there's 5 different runes, 6 actually, I think, it allows you to customize your play a little bit more. You pick the ice, I picked the electric, which I thought would kind of suit the robot pretty well. And let me tell you, it's sweet. Like, I can have lightning storms coming down, and like it's cool. Super cool, right? And we've got there was Bane, Poison, and I think also like a blood one as well. So there was quite a few. Yeah, there was quite a few cool relics that really allowed you to kind of fully customize your play experience when you go through this dungeon crawler.
Yeah, I like the skill tree. I thought it was super easy to find and get into, and then you can see which way you wanted to kind of customize and build out your loadout kind of thing for your character. And to get in there, and you can kind of soup up one of the abilities and get that to the next level, or you can kind of keep branching out. The higher you get in the level, obviously it unlocks other abilities and stuff. And it was just like, man, it was cool. Like, I got a frost monster walking around, it was awesome. Corey, one of the focuses on Torchlight games are the multiplayer, and you and I jumped into the single player and then wanted to hook up together and play the multiplayer, but little did we know you actually had to do the multiplayer first. So basically what's happened is we played hours upon hours of single player, the story, the campaign, everything moving forward, grinding up our character, thinking Corey and I can meet up online together and just continue on from there. Turns out that's not the case. You actually have to go to multiplayer, select multiplayer, and start from scratch. I mean, make your character all over again, pick your relics, pick your I picked the owl, so you pick your animal, and then you start the whole campaign over again. So here's an inside tip: if you're getting the game for Torchlight 3, just start multiplayer. There is no point in playing the single player, which was a little baffling to both of us, I think, Corey.
Yeah, it was. You know what, it is definitely the most disappointing portion, because I mean, I don't know of a game that I can think of, at least off the top of my head, that does this. Like, because
No.
to me, it just makes sense. Like, this is a grind style game where I'm going to be playing as maybe 1 or 2 characters at the most, really, to start, and I'm just going to grind through the levels and get my abilities up and keep going. But if I can't just take my character when I'm playing by myself and jump in and play with my friends online with that same character, if I started in just the single player mode, it's super disappointing, right? Like, I like Torchlight 3. I'm having a blast playing the game, so I don't mind jumping in and grinding in and playing and playing more, but I don't want to have to play through that same story that I just played. And maybe I don't think it's any fault of our own. I don't believe it prompts you early on that, if you pick one over the other, where you're going to end up with this. So again, I think as a good kind of initial tip for this game, make sure you play on the multiplayer mode right from the beginning. It's the same as single player, but at least if you get to play with other people because they're in the world with you, or you can bring your friends in, because that is definitely a big hit here.
One of my favorite parts of the game, the fort. You have your own fort, man. I love this stuff. So you know what I did? I jumped into my fort and I completely wiped the thing clean and started from scratch and building my own. It was so cool.
The fort is definitely a really cool aspect that they brought in, and I think you definitely going to take more advantage of it in the multiplayer side of things, because people can come across your fort and kind of check it out as they're kind of roaming the world as well. But there's a ton of customization here. Like, we can change all the kind of decorations as we find new ones, as we go throughout the worlds. But then we have different stations that allow us to use some of the materials that we've mined and build certain things and allow us to upgrade certain pieces of equipment. So the fort really brings this whole level of customization that you definitely don't necessarily need in a game like this, because it's already so full with things that you can do, especially with just building your character. But to have this as a bonus, I think, is like a huge plus for this game. So I mean, maybe if we played single player first instead of multiplayer, so we got a hit on this game. But if you play from multiplayer and you get all these things, man, it's a pretty awesome package.
No, absolutely. Corey, I think we've lit up that torch pretty well with this one. Torchlight 3, for me, has kind of got a bit of a mixed reaction with the multiplayer. The game is an absolute blast. The single player is cool. The game mechanic behind it all is awesome. The fort is a wicked mechanic. I absolutely love it. I loved everything about this game, and I was going in high, and then until you and I couldn't really meet up the way we wanted to, really took things down a notch. And unfortunately, man, that was just a big swing and a miss when it came to the multiplayer. I want to take my single player character that I've created, grinded with, and then bring it over and meet you up over in the online component of it, and it's a whole different thing. You got to start all over again. And when you spend hours grinding out your single player, the last thing you want to do is do it all over again from scratch. So for me, that puts me down at an 8.
Oh, all right, you know what? I'm just a little bit higher than you here. And again, I think our biggest issue here was the fact that we both jumped into the single player and then realized we couldn't take that character over to multiplayer. And that is a huge hit. We should be able to transfer characters back and forth so I can hop on and play with my friends and help them grind through the early levels because I got a maxed out character. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to do that at some point. And unfortunately, that was a big hit here. But for me, it doesn't detract for how much fun I had playing Torchlight 3. I love the fact that I got to play as one of the new classes is a Forge class. I think it's super awesome. My robot has tank tracks for feet now. So I'm just saying, like, I'm having a blast playing this game. And yeah, you know what? Now that I know, I'm going to hop over to the multiplayer and start grinding away now before I get too deep into this game. But at the same time, I think there's just too many fun elements to this game. It's a ton of fun to jump into. It's easy. You know, I think for anybody, you know, level of gamer as they go through, expert to beginner, all that, I think this game's got it all. I'm there with an 8.5.
Nice.
Torchlight 3 has great gameplay and awesome character design. And the two new classes, Forged and Railmaster, are a really nice addition. And the menu rework this time around looks really, really good. But the fact that I can't bring my single player character over to the multiplayer side of things is definitely a big upset.
You're close to dying.
The guys and I were hanging out on our Twitch channel over at twitch.tv/theofficialitg and playing one heck of a party game. At sundown, shots in the dark is an absolute blast. There's nothing like hiding in the shadows and then taking out your buddies. Check it out. They clear the
Oh!
tracks.
I can hide from you, Adam.
Oh, I thought it was out of the way.
How do you melee? Oh,
You can't.
You can't
We
melee.
were up. We
oh,
were
I triple kill.
What the
Let's
heck
go.
is that?
Oh, I thought I was dead.
Get out of here. You two.
Oh, I
clear the
thought I
tracks.
shot you for
Oh, no.
sure. Oh, I was reloading. Oh, Adam.
You got lucky that you're.
How are you still alive? Scott!
Yellow killing spree.
Oh, I tried a third party. I got Scott, but
that's
Drew
what
got
happens.
me. Oh,
No, no! I'm reloading. Oh, I gotta get out of here. No! Ah, man! Oh, no. Ah, Scott, I saw you sitting there. I saw you. Oh, there's Adam now.
I'm not.
Oh, no.
oh, I tried to get sneaky coming around there. Oh,
Yeah. Payback.
SMG's vicious, man.
I like it. I like it. Oh, no. Oh,
You missed me. You missed me.
I gotta run over.
Oh, I tried to hide. Oh, he got us, Scott. Yeah, he's shaking his head. That's right.
Oh.
Oh, I'm frozen? Oh, the
Nah, you lost.
Dang.
You're one.
Should have started with the SMG, man. Holy.
Yeah, it's
Using the
wrecking.
shot and the SMG's the way to go, I guess.
Yeah,
I
it
like the
rips.
shotgun,
Well,
though.
the shotgun's good too, but you only get the 2 shots before you gotta
Yeah.
reload, right? So it takes a bit of.
Well, that'll wrap up this week's show. Thank you so much for watching, and it's also great to have our own buddy Scott back. Now, you can be a part of the show by going to insidethegame.ca or hitting us up on our Discord, where there you can submit your clip and end off our show. But we have our very own mailbox getting us covered with a whole team wipe and some Call of Duty Warzone. Until next week, see you all later, and thanks again for watching.
Hit! I'm hit!